Phenomenon, tension, and consequence are not limited to quantitative problem statements. They are equally essential in qualitative research. In qualitative studies, however, they guide depth, interpretation, and conceptual coherence rather than hypothesis testing or statistical comparison. In a qualitative study, the phenomenon is the central lived experience, process, or condition being examined. It is not a broad topic. It is not a general area of interest. It names what is happening in context that requires interpretive understanding. For example, AI in education is a topic. How learners experience independence when using AI tools during academic tasks is a phenomenon. The phenomenon must be specific enough to be visible in lived experience and rich enough to require interpretation. The phenomenon grounds the study. It answers the question, what is happening, and how is it experienced? It orients data collection and determines what kinds of stories, observations, and artifacts are relevant. The tension identifies what is unsettled, contradictory, unstable, or misaligned within that phenomenon. In qualitative research, tension is not simply a gap in the literature. It is a contradiction or instability in lived reality. Tension may show up as dissonance between policy and lived experience, between intention and outcome, between support and autonomy, or between identity and expectation. It may emerge when participants describe feeling supported yet constrained, capable yet dependent, confident in one context but anxious in another. Continuing the example, the tension might be that traditional accommodations such as note-takers or structured breakdowns are designed to support learners, but may not foster long-term autonomy. There is a friction between assistance and independence. That friction becomes the analytic tension. The consequence names why the tension matters beyond immediate description. In qualitative research, consequence is not simply a measured outcome. It may unfold as identity formation, relational shifts, internalized narratives, emotional trajectories, or structural reinforcement. In the same example, the consequence might involve learners internalizing dependence, experiencing persistent anxiety when working alone, or developing a fragile sense of competence that extends into adulthood. These consequences are visible in how participants describe themselves, their future, and their sense of agency. Phenomenon answers, what is happening? Tension answers, where is the instability or contradiction? Consequence answers, why does this instability matter beyond this moment? These elements shape the qualitative research question. If the phenomenon is AI as scaffold for self-initiated engagement, and the tension concerns support versus autonomy, a qualitative question might ask, how do learners experience independence when AI tools replace or supplement traditional accommodations? The question does not test whether AI increases independence statistically. It examines how independence is enacted, negotiated, or redefined in practice. Phenomenon, tension, and consequence also shape data collection. If the tension involves long-term autonomy, interview prompts must invite participants to describe moments of reliance, confidence, hesitation, and change over time. Observation must attend to who initiates tasks, how support is requested, and how persistence unfolds. In qualitative studies, tension is often revealed through contradiction in narrative. A participant might describe appreciating structured support while also expressing frustration at needing it. That contradiction is not inconsistency. It is analytic material. Consequence may appear in narrative trajectory. A participant might describe early reliance on adults, gradual confidence when using AI tools independently, and a shift in self-perception from someone who needs help to someone who can start on my own. The consequence is visible in identity language and future orientation. When tension is not clearly articulated, analysis may remain primarily descriptive. When consequence is not explored, the study may identify patterns without clarifying why they matter. Consequence must be visible in participant experience rather than inferred at a distance. If participants describe anxiety during math homework, claiming systemic psychological harm without narrative grounding would extend beyond the data. Analytic restraint maintains credibility. These three elements can be illustrated through a brief analytic chain. Phenomenon. AI functioning as a scaffold for self-initiated task engagement among learners with dyslexia. Tension. Educational supports designed to assist learners may unintentionally maintain adult mediation rather than fostering autonomous initiation. Consequence. Learners may internalize dependency or alternatively, develop self-efficacy, depending on how support is structured. Interview prompt aligned with this structure might be: can you describe a time when you started an assignment on your own, with or without AI support? A participant response might include: when I use the AI tool, I can break the assignment into steps myself. I don't wait for my teacher anymore. I just start. Before, I would sit there until someone explained it. From this excerpt, the phenomenon is visible in the description of task initiation. The tension appears in the contrast between waiting for adult explanation and initiating independently. The consequence appears in the shift in behavioral pattern and implied self-concept. Themes emerging from such data must be traceable back to these elements. If a theme describes self-directed initiation, it should illuminate the phenomenon. If a theme identifies dependence on mediated support, it should clarify the tension. If a theme captures developing confidence through autonomous engagement, it should articulate the consequence. If a theme cannot be connected to the central phenomenon, it may be peripheral. If it does not illuminate tension, it may remain descriptive. If it does not relate to consequence, its broader significance may be unclear. Phenomenon, tension, and consequence are informed by existing literature, but they are refined through engagement with data. Literature may help identify where instability exists conceptually. Data reveal how that instability is lived. Refinement across the study is not drift. It is increased conceptual precision. Early interviews may suggest a broad phenomenon such as AI support. Later analysis may clarify that the phenomenon is more precisely self-initiated engagement facilitated by AI scaffolding. Similarly, tension may evolve from a general gap between accommodation and autonomy to a more specific contradiction between adult-mediated instruction and self-mediated strategy use. Greater specificity strengthens analytic coherence. Consequence may also deepen. What begins as assignment-related anxiety may reveal broader patterns in identity, confidence, and long-term aspirations. Qualitative research allows consequence to unfold through narrative complexity, rather than reducing it to a single outcome. Here is a contrast example that is quantitative in nature, using the same topic and the same three parts. Quantitative phenomenon. The relationship between AI tool use and independent task completion among learners with dyslexia. Quantitative tension. Existing research has not established whether increased AI tool use is associated with measurable differences in independent task completion or reductions in anxiety, and findings may be inconsistent across settings or samples. Quantitative consequence. Without clearer evidence of measurable effects, schools may adopt or reject AI supports without knowing whether they produce statistically meaningful gains in independence or reductions in anxiety over time. Notice what changed. The qualitative version centers lived experience and meaning. The quantitative version centers measurable indicators, patterns across cases, and the need to test magnitude or association. In qualitative studies, phenomenon defines what is examined. Tension defines where instability lies. Consequence defines why that instability matters. When these elements remain aligned from research question to interpretation, the qualitative study becomes structurally coherent and analytically defensible.